Good evening and welcome to the Cover One Buffalo podcast. You're joining your host, Greg Thompson, for our fourth and final Combine recap show. Had just awesome content going on all week from everybody over at cover1.net. Make sure you check out what's going on. Great updates from all the players, Fernando, Eric, Christian, Russell, Zach, Brad, everybody churning out stuff with all the guys you're hearing all about. And that's what we're going to talk about here today. So the final rundown for all the on-field work was today with the defensive backs showing out and doing a fantastic job, taking a look at everything that we had going on there. And it really was an incredibly positive day. This is a ridiculously athletic group as a whole. And being able to show the level of athleticism that they had and just the level of proficiency at that group with, how today's NFL passing offenses are, it's really incredible to be able to have this level of athlete coming out on the defensive side of the ball. All the top guys, every single one of them checked the box. CJ Anderson from Florida, Christian Fulton from LSU, Trayvon Diggs from Alabama, Jeff Gladney from TCU, all were, consistently average to in line with what you need from a measurement and testing standpoint or better. Jeff Okudah was above average in everything and looked crystal clear and just awesome feet in all the drills. You can tell why he's such a special athlete. Actually kind of got dinged up a little bit in one of the drills, falling back and hitting his head. Still went out and did some ridiculous jumps afterwards. You can tell why that guy's the top corner in the draft. He's just a fantastic athlete. The other guys who stood out that I thought did a really nice job from the corner group, Bryce Hall, I thought, it was interesting to put up almost identical measurements to Jeff Okudah and look good moving around. Michael Ojemudia from Iowa looked really, really smooth, checked all the boxes in testing, and from a drill standpoint, looked really positive. Troy Pride Jr., same thing, average or whatever he needed to, no concerning numbers for any of the testing. Really good in the drills, really smooth. Lamar Jackson, later on, is a name you hear a lot of guys throw around in mock drafts and things like that. Ran a little concerningly slow and looked okay in the drills. I thought he was all right. Same thing, Damon Arnett, the guy opposite Okudah, from Ohio State, short arms and ran slow. That's a bad combo. 4.64 at corner is not an ideal time. Talk about 30, 31 inch arms and you're running slow. That's a no for me. So that's not going to be a fit in McDermott's defense. He likes length. He likes that short area quickness. You don't have to necessarily run a 4.3, but 4.64 is a problem. So Damon Arnett, Lamar Jackson were some guys that, didn't have a great day, didn't help themselves. All the top end guys at corner, Okudah is fantastic. CJ Henderson, Christian Fulton, Trayvon Diggs, Jeff Gladney, Bryce Hall, all those guys look really good. Mid-round guys, Michael Ojemudia, AJ Terrell, Troy Pride Jr. all look good. I thought all had some really nice days, and interested to see where those guys go. I think corner is an area that the Bills are going to be looking at. I think that it is a sneaky need that, you hear Daniel Jeremiah, he thinks CJ Henderson's going top 15, thinks Christian Fulton's going to be gone, thinks Jeff Gladney's going to be up in that area. If we see 3 corners go before the Bills go, that means somebody really nice is falling to them. If some of those guys are on the board, I don't think CJ Henderson is the exact fit because he is small. He's really fast in a man-to-man system. I can see him working. I don't know if he's a great fit there, but Trayvon Diggs, Jeff Gladney, Christian Fulton, they check a lot of boxes from that standpoint. You get into that second round range, I think Bryce Hall, Ojemudia, I think they're right there for the kind of guys they're going to be looking for and are certainly in play more than what a lot of fans are realizing. We'll see how free agency goes, and that can shuffle around the board quite a bit from a need standpoint. But I think those are some guys that you're always going to need. And we've seen the limitations of what a really sound technician and high energy, high effort guy like Levi Wallace can produce. And it has limitations. And that's, we need additional talent there. So I certainly am one that hopes Kevin Johnson comes back. I wouldn't be sad if we take a run at a guy or two in free agency or a reasonable investment in the draft. And these are some of the names we should be excited about. Moving into the next area, it's interesting. I found myself more excited about the safeties than even the corners. Man, are there some weapons here in this safety market. And I think the interesting part is Eric talked a little bit about it. You also saw that we brought on Matthew Fairburn, who did an awesome piece on Kyle Duggar, as well as Eric's fantastic piece on him. That applies to more guys than just Duggar. So Duggar had a great day today. It's so funny. He's kind of like Jalen Reagor in the sense that being able to run a 4.49 and in Rager's case a 4.47 and have that be disappointing tells you what a special athlete you are. Those are great times. If you run a 4.47 and a 4.49, that's a really good 40. You're just fine. That is NFL caliber specialist speed. You're talking about a Duggar standpoint, doing that at 220. And the longest arms, longest wingspan, in the draft out of all the DBs, he's just fine. So the reason that we like him so much is the versatility that the one piece Bean and McDermott haven't really filled yet that does match up to their defense from the Carolina days is that big nickel. They call it the Buffalo nickel here. And in Carolina, it was Shaq Thompson. So some names that I was really excited about, there were 4 of them that I think really match up to what that potential role could be in that, it's a part-time nickel, it's a part-time safety, it's a part-time weak side linebacker. It's, all of those things rolled together into that Buffalo nickel role where you want a guy who's part safety, part nickel, part outside linebacker, and can do all those things. Kyle Duggar is an obvious one. I think he's going to go reasonably well. I can't lie. I'm not sad that he didn't run in a ridiculous off the charts 40 and that we might have a chance to steal a little bit, get him where I would hope, which is more towards the 3rd round or maybe in that 2nd round range. But we'll see where that goes. Another name from a small school guy out of Southern Illinois, the Salukis, Jeremy Chin, 6'3", 221, chiseled, crazy long arms, really strong for the long arms. He just screams Cam Chancellor to me. He looks like him. He carries himself like him. Crazy explosion. At 221, he ran a 4.46 with a 41-inch vertical and 11-foot 6-inch broad. And just an incredible athlete to be able to put up those kind of times with that kind of power and size. Looked really good in the drills and fits that same role where, that's the kind of guy that if he develops into that, and obviously you have to check that. Both of those guys, I think, have good film, but against lower talent, that's not always easy to identify when you have the schedule and the kind of teams that Southern Illinois and Lennar Ryan are playing. It's kind of hard to be able to identify, is that just their phenomenal athleticism or how much of that is going to translate at the next level. So their film looks good, but it's not obvious to be able to connect the dots there. Another guy coming out of Minnesota, Antoine Winfield Jr., a lot of people love him. Probably won the day from a drill standpoint, look the smoothest and consistently explosive. They were talking about his thighs and his bubble butt on the show. He's put together well, and you can tell, obviously, all Bills fans remember his dad, Antoine Winfield, one of the hardest hitting corners I've ever seen in my life. Was just one of my favorite players, a guy that would come lay the wood regardless of the fact that the people he was hitting were consistently bigger than him. His son plays that way. His son's explosive like he is, ran a 4.46. Like his dad, he's not the biggest guy, 5'9", 203 with 30-inch arms. That's not huge. He's probably never going to be that full-on center fielder safety, but I'm totally fine with that guy in the nickel. I'm totally fine with that guy roaming the middle and being that part-time outside linebacker, part-time nickel cornerback, part-time big safety. I think he has a chance to do that. He's probably closer to a traditional nickel back than, Jeremy Chin is 6'3", 221. That's a big ballpark and range between the two. But a player that I thought did himself proud today and looked great in the drills. You could tell he's going to translate very well. And, more than one person, brought up the Honey Badger. And when you have somebody, comparing you to, Tyrann Mathieu and that kind of talent, the 5'9", 203, the explosiveness, the fluidness through the drills, I can kind of see it. And that, I don't know what it would have been like if Antoine Winfield Jr. was at a bigger school instead of Minnesota, how much of that translated there and how much of that was there, but I don't think that's a crazy comparison in that the impact Tyrann Mathieu had on the field, overcoming some of the off-field issues that he had early on. I don't know that that's a crazy reach. There's probably obviously a ceiling to get to that point, but I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. Another high-end guy that I didn't think did great was Xavier McKinney. Measured in okay at 6 foot 201. Ran a 4.63, and for a guy who's consistently talked about as a top 15, top 20 pick, I don't think he looked fantastic. So pulled up lame in one of the drills, didn't run anymore. It was okay. I thought he had an all right day, but as far as any of these recaps we've done, all the high-end guys have checked every box and done great. He probably fell the slight shortest of that, of what's there. And my final guy, Cordero's in the chat talking about it. Man, Tanner Muse was all over Twitter today, and he took over the Cover One Slack channel. It was unbelievable. And that, we joke as he gets up there and runs, he's all the 6'2", 227, and he carries it well. He's put together really well. Gets up there, runs. They're talking live with Deion Sanders. And, as he goes, they can tell he's moving. And then that time pops up and he runs a 4.4140 at 227 pounds. And Deion's immediate response was, I'm not going to say it. So I'll say it. That's one swift Caucasian. That's not exactly what you're normally talking about here with a guy like that. 6'2", 227 running a 4.41. Man, was he moving and looked smooth in the drills, really quick feet transitioning from spot to spot. And just a guy that I think made himself some money today. He was already in that range. Daniel Jeremiah talked about it on the broadcast that the 59 games played at Clemson is ridiculous. And at some point, some guys kind of get lost, especially when you're talking about the kind of athletes that are there at Clemson. And the same thing when you're surrounded by, all of the crazy, Isaiah Simmons of the world and all the other players that are just unbelievable around there. It's easy not to realize that there's talent at every single spot. And I think that it happened a little bit with some other guys who had fallen back. Look at, DeAndre Hopkins went later than he probably should have in the draft. Hunter Renfrow was a great contributor early on for where he was and went much later than he should. And I think it's sometimes kind of hard at the Ohio States, the Alabamas, the Clemsons, when you have 11 NFL caliber defenders on the field, it's hard to tell who's making an impact and who's not. In the Cover One Slack channel, we shared a play from that national championship semifinal game where Tanner Muse had like a 4-yard gap between him and J.K. Dobbins on one of the big runs, and he chased him down and tripped him up on what looked like an automatic touchdown. He still ended up getting like 40 yards, but he tracked him down and caught him from behind with a 4-yard head start. And J.K. Dobbins is an explosive athlete. So Tanner Muse is a guy at 6'2", 227. Our friend from Lockdown Bills, Joe Marino, was talking about that's Matt Milano. That's the size of the modern NFL outside linebacker. So that same thing that we're talking about with Jeremy Chin, with Kyle Duggar, to a lesser extent, but the same idea as Antoine Winfield. I think Tanner Muse is right in that space where, maybe as a rookie, he's, easing into that role, competing against Siran Neal, competing against Taron Johnson, maybe a free agent pickup that we may go after. And then long term, if he grows into that, that's the kind of guy that can play that Buffalo nickel, that Shaq Thompson role, and that all of a sudden you get to be in your base set all the time and don't have to come out of that. Because if you have a guy who's 6'2", 227 and runs a 4.41 and looks as smooth as he did in those drills, you don't necessarily have to get him off the field on third down. You have some flexibility that, hey, if they isolate him out on the tight end, all right, we'll take our chances. We think he can hang with him, and that's a weapon that I would love to see McDermott get this year. So as we wrap up for the players here, I'm going to talk a little bit about a piece that I put a ton of time and effort into. I went a little crazy on a off-field or off-season recap kind of thing. And I took the approach that, what if all of the positives we had of how excited we were when Ed Oliver fell in our lap at pick 9, or that we couldn't believe the value of Jordan Poyer or Quentin Spain's contract, What if an entire offseason went that way, and that we were able to pick up every single guy we wanted, moved everything around? And I got a little crazy. I was probably like a 14-year-old playing Madden. But I put together an entire offseason where I spent every single dollar that we had and had every draft pick fall just right. And it was a lot of fun to be able to put together. So that's going to release tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock. You're going to see some players plugged in there that impact that Buffalo nickel role in a couple different ways to play that. So take a look for that. We'll put it out in the programs here. And during the week here, I'm going to have a guest from another popular Bills podcast take a look at that piece and come on and give me some crap about how ridiculous and rose-colored the offseason projection I put together was. But that'll be a lot of fun. We're going to welcome Joe Marino on the show to get his thoughts coming back from Indianapolis and the Combine and everything that he got on site there, and a lot of really other exciting things going on here as we have heading into the offseason. So we'll be here with you through free agency. We'll be here with you through all the CBA updates and everything that's out there. We'll be here with you all the way up through the draft and through the offseason, giving you updates on everything that we have going on. It's going to be a lot of fun. So look forward to that. Thank you guys for the chat. Appreciate you guys, John, Cordero, Ron, everybody jumping in. Appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun. You'll hear more from us this week, but this is Cover One Buffalo, and we are out.